Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever wished you could just travel back in time, not to change history, but just to meet someone, to see what their life was really like at a pivotal moment? Well, that's what we're doing today. We're going back to the American frontier to meet a young woman named Della Smith, right as she's turning 15.
But first, let me ask you something. Think back for a second. Who were you at 15? What music were you listening to? What were you dreaming about? It's such a formative time, right? You're kind of on the edge of becoming who you're gonna be. So hold that thought, because today we're gonna see exactly how those teenage years shaped one pretty remarkable woman's entire life.
All right, let's do it. Let's travel. We're meeting Della Smith. The year is 1877, and we are in Concordia, Kansas. And you have to picture this place. It's a bustling little town literally being built, carved right out of the American prairie. So, at this moment, Della is the oldest of 4 kids, and her home, well, it's a constant hub of activity. And not just because of her siblings, but because of what her parents did for a living, which was pretty fascinating. You see, Della didn't just grow up in a family, she grew up in what you might call a small business incubator. Seriously, her parents were these amazing entrepreneurs, running 2 very different but totally vital businesses right in the heart of this frontier town. Her childhood was this amazing study in contrasts. On one side, you have her father's livery stable, the gritty, practical, essential center of transportation for the whole town. And on the other side, you have her mother Abby's millinery, a place of pure artistry, skill, and fashion. So Della, she basically grew up with a foot in both worlds, learning about hard-nosed commerce from her dad and about creative independence from her mom.
And let me tell you, they were good at it. By 1877, the family's real property was valued at $750. Now, I know that might not sound like a ton of money today, but back then, on the Kansas frontier, that was a serious sign of success and stability.
And here's what's really cool. Her mother's business, the hat making, had generated personal property valued at $340. And this was her money, her own income. I mean, what a powerful example of female financial independence for a young girl like Della to witness every single day.
So all told, you add it all up, and the family's assets were over $1,500. Now, this prosperity wasn't just about being comfortable. It was about opportunity. It meant they could invest in things that other families just couldn't, like a very specialized and pretty uncommon education for their kids.
And you can see that financial success translate directly into Della's education. Because while most kids on the frontier were getting a very, very basic schooling, the Smiths were able to invest in something more.
For most kids in 1870s Kansas, school was, a bit hit or miss. Maybe a few months a year, focusing on the absolute basics. But Della's education? It went way beyond that. Her family paid for private instruction in music, which at the time was considered a real mark of cultural refinement.
And this wasn't just some casual hobby, okay? This was a serious pursuit. A musical education meant learning to read complex music, mastering an instrument like the piano, and understanding music theory. For a young woman, this was huge. It was more than just a social asset. It was a potential career, a path to supporting herself as a teacher. It was a path that both Della and her sister Maudie would end up following.
So, as you can imagine, Della's life wasn't all work and school. Not at all. The family's investment in the arts, plus that classic frontier community spirit, actually created a surprisingly rich and vibrant social life for her. You can really see her curiosity shining through in her hobbies. For instance, she kept a scrapbook, and it was filled with newspaper clippings about everything, from local town events to national politics. This wasn't just arts and crafts. This was a 15-year-old actively engaging with the world, trying to understand what was happening way beyond the dusty streets of Concordia. And that whole town, they knew how to have fun. I mean, think about it. No Netflix, no radio. Entertainment was something you made yourself. So you had church socials, community dances, reading circles, the whole shebang. And as a budding musician, Della wasn't just someone in the audience. She was almost certainly a performer, sharing her talents with the entire community.
Okay, so let's hit pause for a second and just zoom out. What was this world that Della was living in actually like? What was life like in Concordia, Kansas, back in 1877?
I mean, this was the textbook definition of a frontier town. Kansas had only been a state for about 16 years.
You would have seen wooden buildings popping up everywhere, the air constantly filled with the sound of hammers and saws. It was a place being built in real time, full of that grit and that incredible sense of possibility.
But life there was really a two-sided coin. The hardships were absolutely real. We're talking brutal winters, the constant threat of prairie fires, economic uncertainty, even plagues of grasshoppers that could wipe out everything. But right alongside all that hardship was this powerful, undeniable current of optimism. This belief that you were building something new, something better. The Smith family, they were living proof of that very idea.
And this is where it all comes together. The really crucial point is how all of these different threads, her family, their businesses, her education, the community, all wove together during this one single, formative year to set the stage for the entire rest of Della's life.
It's like everything that would later define Della as an adult, her artistic talent, her sharp business sense, her incredible resilience, it was all being forged right here, right now, at age 15 in Concordia, Kansas. And her journey from that point on is just, wow, it's remarkable. That young musician from 1877, she becomes an accomplished teacher. The girl who watched her parents run 2 businesses, she becomes an independent businesswoman and property manager all the way out in San Diego. The skills she learned on the frontier, artistry, commerce, adaptability, that was the toolkit she used for the rest of her very successful life.
Which, of course, brings us right back to you. We've just seen how Della's life at 15 was basically a blueprint for her future. So what about your story? What skills, or passions, or lessons from your youth became the foundation for who you are today? It's a pretty powerful question to think about. Thanks for watching.